Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of A Baker's Perspective podcast. I am excited to introduce today's author. She is the author of the book Keeper of My Heart, which is part of the Discerning God's Best series, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it yet. Please join me in welcoming Heidi Gray McGill to the podcast today. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Can you start by telling listeners a little bit about yourself and about Keeper of My Heart?
Absolutely. So I am first a child of God. I am a believer in Jesus Christ. And so that sets the pace of who I am and everything that I say and do. I am a wife of over 30 years to my husband, Bob, who is an adventure seeking man. His favorite thing is scuba diving at the moment. And
Oh,
he likes to,
interesting.
yeah, he likes to push the boundaries, cave diving, anything black water. He thinks that's fun. The mom of two girls. They are grown. I have one that lives nearby with three grandchildren, and the other lives in Kentucky. And they are just joys to me. So the one
Mm.
with three children, I'm a Grammy as well. So they are, let's see, almost seven, three, and one. And oh my goodness, they are by far the joy of my life.
Oh, I bet.
But, beyond that, I am also an author, and it is not something I have always done, but it is something that I have done since 2020, and I am very excited, about what God has been doing in my life through being an author.
I will just say, sidebar, I didn't realize it had only been, I guess, since 2020. You've written
Yeah.
a lot of books in 5 years.
I try to write 2 a year, 1 full novel and 1 novella.
Wow, good for you.
It's
So
full-time. This is my full-time job.
that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about Keeper of My Heart?
Yes, so let me start by sharing a little bit about the series itself. So, the Discerning God's Best series is set in the late 1800s. I think that first book was 1857. And each book is truly a standalone novel, but you will want to read them in order to see
Yeah.
the growth of the individuals. The first book in that series, there's the prequel. I have a Christmas prequel that is an engagement story. I have a prequel that tells the beginning of the story, and then those are free that you can get when you sign up for my newsletter. And they are both in audiobook and in ebook formats.
Mm.
And then there's Desire of My Heart, which is Rachel's story, and it is truly a story of loss and overcoming and learning to rely on God and understanding the power and the purpose of prayer. It is something that the character of Grammy, who represented my mom, teaches Rachel, and it's a very strong book. It's a little bit of a unique writing because it was my first debut novel and I didn't know what I was doing, but it still has a strong message. And it
Mhm.
does, my reviews are that it truly captures the reader's attention.
Yeah.
The second book is written on my heart. And honestly, the truth is, I did not know if book one was going to go well. In fact, the reason that I use my full name, Heidi Gray McGill, is because I really thought only my mom's friends would probably read this book and I needed them to be able to find me. And so I used my maiden name. But that book took off, and I do believe God honored my desire to not only please Him in everything that I say and do, but I'll tell you a little bit later about why I got into writing, but I that book did very well. And so the second book came because I couldn't stop. There
Yeah.
was another story that had to be told and it needed to happen. And so I wrote it. And then I took a little break and realized if I'm going to do this, I need to know what I'm doing. And so I hired a coach. And that coach helped me understand point of view and passive voice and all the things that I
Mm.
needed to do. In my first two books, I have multiple people and multiple points of view. And so it's just a unique style. It's more of an old school writing style, like the books I used to read. And now today, readers want a male perspective and a female perspective.
Yeah.
And so I learned to change that and I got in, oh my goodness, I put my hands on every book that I could and took these courses. And you'll notice in book 3 a little bit of a change in my writing style, and that's Matters of the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
That book is based right after the Civil War, and it tells you the story of two immigrants and what they have gone through being a part of America. And that story came out of the fact that I was the founder and director of an English as a second language program, and that's what I had been doing for multiple years before 2020 hit. When COVID hit, it was necessary for me to close that program. And I missed those students. I missed their stories. I
Yeah.
missed watching them grow spiritually through our program and learn, and the light bulbs going on when they learned about Jesus Christ for the very first time. And I missed it.
Uh,
And so that's what I wrote. That book has that theme in it. No
mm-hmm.
personal real stories are involved in that, but it's the concept of what my students went through as they navigated from their homeland and had to adapt to becoming an American.
Hmm.
The next story that I wrote was, um, well, let's see, that would have been book 4, which was Healing of the Heart. Now, Thomas, the character who has been through this entire series, is all grown up. And he's in Philadelphia, and he is becoming a physician. And that story, I put a little bit of a mystery and a third
Mm-hmm.
character in there that really helped drive that story. And it is one of my best selling and highest ranking books as far as Amazon stars are considered. And that book was truly a new learning experience for me. Well, then I had read a couple Louis L'Amour books, and he is
Ah.
Western and
Mm-hmm.
clean, and it is not a love story, although sometimes there is one involved, but there is always strong characters, and there's always a bad guy. And I thought, you
Yeah.
know what? I struggle. I really struggle to write a bad guy. I am just a Pollyanna, and so my heart is that I just don't know how to make somebody ugly because I don't want to see humanity that way.
Right.
Well, I wrote the character of Luther Conrad, and he is slimy. And there were times I would finish writing and say, "Oh, I just need a shower." That guy just makes my skin crawl. I had sleepless nights because I knew what he was going to do tomorrow when I wrote, and I
Oh,
didn't want to write it. But that story became one of my favorites in the new ability of writing and watching myself grow as an author.
mm-hmm.
And it was also one of the first times that a character did not accept Jesus in my book. And I realized that not every story, not every parent is watching their family have a happy ending,
Right.
and that we need to deal with the reality of that we
Mm-hmm.
still need to love that person.
Yeah.
And so that story was a growing work for me, and that was called Written on My Heart. I also did a couple novellas in there. They're both Christmas, and they are side characters that are just fun stories, and they can be read at any point in time. But then I wrote Keeper of My Heart. I took the long road to get here. Keeper of My Heart is Cecilia's story. Now, in the very first story, Cecilia is born, and she's a very meek and mild and quiet and obedient child until she turns about 2. And in the second story, With All My Heart, oh my goodness, she becomes a terror. And in that story, we learn that mama cannot do this. This mama is exhausted. And
Yeah.
my daughter was going through this at the time, and I totally understood. And so I put that child in pants and I sent her out with her father, and I said, "She's yours."
Yep.
And daddy dealt with her. And she became the character that she is in this Keeper of My Heart book. At 19, 20 years old, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
But she is also a very strong-headed, very self-reliant woman.
Yeah.
And although she is a firm believer in Jesus Christ and her strength does also come from the Lord, she doesn't rely fully on the Lord. And she needs something that is going to break her, that is going to knock her down a peg and recognize she cannot do this on her own.
Right.
And that is partially going to come through what she learns from God and partially what she's going to learn from a man named Jimmy. Now, I got to tell you a little bit about Jimmy. So, I have this fabulous editor. She's my proofreader. She's the last person that sees the book for the editing process. And I did not know this, but she is neurodivergent. She
Oh.
has autism, and I wondered why she was so fabulous at her job. She catches every little detail. And I just love that she does this for me.
Mhm.
But when she read Healing of the Heart, she said to me immediately, Jimmy is autistic. I'm like,
Mhm.
what? Really?
Mhm.
I did not know this. And
Yeah.
then I went back and I went, she's right.
Wow.
That man deserves his own story. And that is how Cecilia's bow came to be. I had planned on using him again. And his full story just pulls him out of he is as a character and the glorious blessing that he is. Because of his uniqueness, he
Mhm.
brings a new dynamic to the story
Yep.
that another character may not be able to bring. And I
Right.
wanted to paint that in a very positive light.
Welcome back. Interesting how, you didn't plan for him to be that way,
Yes.
but in writing, God working through you, that's how he turned out.
Yes, just his awkwardness and the things that he does. I did not recognize those characteristics, but once you see them, you will recognize them yourself.
Hmm. I love that. So let's start with our perspective question, which I like to start the podcast with. I'd love to hear your perspective now. Cecilia, you kind of told her backstory a little bit, kind of see her as a tomboy, and they're not frequently tomboys as heroines. But I can really relate to that because I was a tomboy growing up.
Mhm.
So I'm curious your perspective on having tomboys as heroines. Do we need more? Do we need less? Just tell me what you got.
Okay, first of all, I gotta say thank you because I love that you chose the word tomboy. That was just awesome. It really made me recognize that she is a beautiful, feminine
Hmm.
character who is a tomboy.
Yep, and that's okay.
Yes, it is. And so, she is one of those people that is not going to swoon. She's not going to flutter. She's not going to faint. She's not
Hmm.
going to be closed mouth. She's not going to do what society says. She's not going to all the things,
Right.
all the things. I tire of those stories. And so, one of the things as an author that I have set myself to do is I don't want to fit the mold.
I love that.
And Cecilia helped me do that.
Hmm.
She does not need anyone telling her what is right or what is wrong. And as an author, I didn't point those things out. So I've read a few books where um, the author often will mention that the character feels
Mm,
less than or awkward or
right.
different or like they don't fit in. That's not Cecilia.
Right.
She is who she is and she's proud of it.
Yep.
And she's not, I wouldn't call her cocky, I would call her confident.
Yeah.
And I just love her as a character. She is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And I think we need more tomboy-ish, if you
Yeah.
will, characters as
Real
heroines.
women.
Yeah, because, there are several of them in real life,
Yes.
and I think I don't want to go down this road, but I will just quickly say, with everything happening in our world today, we
Mhm.
need a reminder that it's okay to be female and to like
Yes.
things and do things. My
Yeah.
generation calls them tomboys. It,
Yes. I'm going to
what?
interject something else here as well. So I wrote a book, Dial E for Endearment in a series. That one was of a blind girl. And then I wrote a book called right after it called Dial P for Perfect. And Ginger, that main character, is a curvy girl. And
Yay! I love it already.
yes, yes. I totally got her. That was an easy book to write because, man, that was from my heart. I
Aw.
understood how she felt. but I got a review that absolutely made my heart just sing. And it was, when I heard that this was a curvy girl book, I didn't know if I was going to like it, because usually it means that the person is going to have a negative self-image.
Mm,
And that's not how I painted Ginger. Yes, she gets
hmm.
frustrated with her body,
Right.
but she dresses lovely. She puts herself out there, and she makes jokes to make other people comfortable.
Hmm.
It, to me, it's not just the tomboy. It is seeing women as we are. We are not these perfectly, you and I talked beforehand about makeup. Neither of us are makeup girls. And we don't fit that YouTube mold.
Yeah.
My hair is not perfectly done. If you looked at the back, you would laugh. So it's one of those things that I want to paint real characters, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
If you cannot connect with a reader, you cannot understand their spiritual growth or
Mm,
any growth at all, or their feelings.
right.
It's when you connect with the character and you're just like, I have been there, that
Yeah.
you can then possibly see God's bird's eye view of
Hmm.
what he is doing in that character's life, and then possibly see it in your own. And that's
Yeah.
my goal.
I love that. And there's nothing wrong with books with 20-year-old heroines. I mean, Cecilia is young,
Right.
obviously,
Right.
that are put together and falling in love for the first time. But I've always said, I'm definitely not 20. I'm like twice that and then some.
Yeah.
So, I even look for stories with a little older heroines
Yes.
because they're going through things that I'm going through. Um, not everything. And
Yeah.
obviously, like I said, I enjoy stories, with younger heroines, but we need more realistic characters in our stories today. And I think
We do.
Christian fiction in general, I see that growing,
Mhm.
whether it's the age of the characters, a lot of sensitive topics, in the world are being brought out in Christian fiction.
Right.
Every aspect of it essentially. And I'm really enjoying seeing that grow and reading more books that are diverse and
Yes.
represent different things that are happening in the world, right in our backyards, essentially, that I can relate to. Yes, I do enjoy obviously reading a fluffy romance every now and then, just for like a feel
Oh,
good story.
that's
But I
right. You
like
got to
the
have
other
palate
stuff
cleanser
too.
plenty.
So Jimmy, our dashing pharmacist,
Yeah.
I'm curious. So this book was 1877, right? That was
Yeah.
the time set. Okay. Did you have to do a lot of research, like for the medicinal part of it? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
We
That's
had
actually a really good question. So I had done quite a bit of research when I was doing Healing of the Heart, especially about the railroad. It had to be plausible that I could get my characters back and forth from Philadelphia to Missouri.
right.
So I did have to know that railroad system, and that was a really fascinating process. And on just as a side note, the Library of Congress was exceptional
Hmm.
in helping me with those details, and
Ooh.
they actually had misplaced or lost or something, some records, and they could not give me the exact year that I needed. So they gave me the year before and the year after.
Oh, wow.
And then they put three people on the case. And by the time the book was already published, they came back to me and said, "We found it." So thankfully, I had done everything well. But yes, Jimmy, his character was not moving the story forward in Healing of the Heart. And I've killed people off before, but I wasn't going to kill Jimmy. So I decided Jimmy needed to move.
Hmm.
And what needed to happen was I knew he needed to get out of the situation he was in his home life in Philadelphia, which was high society and high expectations.
Mm.
It was not a good living environment for him. And so when I started my research, I learned that there was a pharmacy school in South Carolina where I live,
Oh, neat.
that had just started, just opened, and he was the perfect candidate. So I enrolled him and he went to pharmacy school. So in this book, his purpose is coming to Shumardoak Bend, to this fictional town, which is near today's Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
Hmm.
His purpose in coming was, one, he wanted to see his friend Thomas. He
Mhm.
wasn't ready to go back home after graduation. But two, he had always heard Thomas's stories of Singing Bird, now called Robin, and she is an Arapaho Indian, and she was a healing woman. And I had many years ago, when one of the in the second book, pardon me, I had done some research then as well on the medicinal properties of plants and trees and so
Hmm.
forth. And so when Jimmy came, he is learning from Singing Bird. So I had already done some research, but yes, it was pretty interesting. There are a couple books that helped me. I, for the life of me, cannot think of the one right now. And I actually wanted to purchase a copy, and it was $110 on eBay.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
did not purchase a copy.
Yeah.
But there are some books that were very popular during that time. But I will
Uh,
have to say, this is where um, Google ChatGPT, the AI can be super helpful.
yeah.
Um, so that I don't go down rabbit holes and get stuck. I can ask for quick, fact checked information, and then
Mhm.
I can draw some conclusions from there.
Oh, neat. Did you learn anything that you could use today? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Do you know? Not really.
Mm,
And I think part of it is because I was so focused on the pandemic that they were having at the
hmm.
time. I wasn't really looking at headaches and coughs and fever, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Just curious.
Yeah.
We have a, museum in our town that is based on the 1800s. Like you go there and everybody is dressed up, and
Oh,
um, they have a church, they have a schoolhouse, they have a tavern, they have a blacksmith shop,
where
they have
are you that
everything.
this is? I need to go.
It's, Cooperstown, New York, like
New
Baseball Hall of
York.
Fame. That's what
Oh,
everyone
wow.
knows
Okay.
Cooperstown of. But we do have this really cool museum, and there is a well, they don't call it a pharmacy. I can't think of what they call it.
Apothecary.
I don't think it's that either,
No?
actually. Well, anyway, my daughter worked there when she was in high school as a
Um,
volunteer during the summers, and she learned a lot of interesting things
yes.
while she was there. So uh,
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
neat how
it
far medicine has come, good and bad.
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and we've kinda gone back in time a little bit, in the last, oh, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Essential oils have become so
yeah.
important.
Mhm. Yep. It's I feel like it's kind of like fashion, right? Everything cycles.
Yes. Those bell bottoms.
Yeah. So, Keeper of the Heart, as we've already said, is part of a series,
Mhm.
but it can also, I think it can be read as a standalone. I think any of them probably could. And I'm curious, most series, you kind of have to read them in order.
Yes.
And authors do that on purpose, obviously. I'm just curious why you chose this one to be a little different than the mold. And you already said you don't want to be the mold, so maybe that's
Yeah.
the answer.
Yeah, actually, this is a good question, and this is one I've never been asked before. Um, I met with Steve Lobby, who is an
Mhm.
agent with the Steve Lobby agency, and he said to me, um, "Tell me about the books you already written." And I said, "Well, I write a series." And he stopped me right there. He
Hmm.
said, "Same characters every single time?" And I said, "No." He said, "Then that's not actually a series." And he gave it a name. And of course, at the moment, the name escapes me.
Right.
Um, my book is set in the same town of Shumardoak Bend, but it spans time from 1857 to 1878.
Mhm.
It the characters that you meet in the first book move forward to the second book and so on. But each book has a unique set of individual characters who the main characters are for that specific book, which that helps make it a standalone.
Mm,
Book 1 and 2 are probably best read in order because I didn't quite understand that yet when I was in that learning process.
mhm,
But every other book after that, you could start in book 3 and then jump to book 6 and then go back and read book 1.
mhm.
But I will tell you, this is something that I did not recognize that readers helped me see was, yes, these are standalone novels and novellas. But if you truly want to see how not only God is woven through the books and through the characters' lives, but also how those characters grow into who they are. For example,
Mhm.
Thomas as a young boy,
Yeah.
now being a physician. If you want to see that progression, read them in order.
Mhm.
And they are available in Kindle Unlimited, which makes it a great
Yep.
binge read,
Yeah.
binge read. Get that out. And also, many of them so far. Oh gosh, one, two, three, and four of them are on audiobook. And oh, fabulous. My narrator is Aimee Lilly, and she is phenomenal. She can do all the voices and carries them over from books to books. It's great.
Wow.
Yes,
That's amazing.
yes,
That shout out to her.
yeah,
But I will say I do like reading a series, but another perspective is, when let's say Keeper of My Heart was the first book like I found in the series,
yeah,
right? Of course, I'm going to want to go back and start from the beginning. But if it's a series you have to read in order, you're almost like, well, I already know where this is going, so why bother? But this is different because yes, you know where it's going, but like you said, you can see when they were younger and how the
yeah,
town progresses and, everything involved. I
yes.
appreciate that you do that this way. Do you think if you do a series down the road, you'll kind of keep it the same?
Yes, and I will tell you one of the reasons why is when you are writing a series where the same characters are moving forward, the time period is very close, like weeks
Yeah.
sometimes, or overlapping even. At the beginning of the book, you almost have to give so much backstory to
Mhm.
help catch a reader up who started in book 2. I did this the other day. I read book 2 before book 1, and I'm like, I am so confused. It took me I knew this was a good author. So I pushed through the first 2.5 chapters before I went, oh, I'm in book 2. That's what all that was. Now the story's starting. And I don't like to write that way. I
Right.
want my story to start where my story starts. And then things will filter in about who those back characters
Mhm.
are as we read the book.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I also like a lot the name of the series, which is Discerning God's Best, and that speaks volumes in its own, I feel like.
Mm.
But I'm wondering how you came up with that as the series name. Can you just share a little bit about it and not give too much spoilers, but maybe a little bit, how it plays out in each story?
Yeah. Um, First of all, when I started writing, I was writing out of necessity. So I told you that I had to close my English as a second language program.
Right.
It was not feasible for us to continue meeting publicly, and my students, their children needed their computers for
Mm,
schoolwork, and so we couldn't meet online.
yeah.
It was heartbreaking to me. That program had been my platform to share Jesus Christ. And I have to tell you, I am not a Bible thumping, scripture spewing person. I am a live my life and you see what I do
Hmm.
and you ask me what makes me different kind of a
Yeah.
girl.
I love that.
And I really try to weave Jesus into everything that I do and that I say. And when I jokingly said I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna, I really do see the good in just about everything because I see God as good. And
Mhm.
even when we don't understand what we're going through, and how God could allow such a thing,
Mm.
it there's still a silver lining in all of it. We just have to find it.
Yeah.
And we don't always know what it is that he really truly wants for us. And we feel like sometimes he's abandoned us. But the honest truth is, he just wants his best for each of us.
Mhm.
And discerning that is not easy because we have so many things that are just coming in
Yeah.
from all angles, our parents, our children, our job, our finances, everything that you can imagine. Every person has dealt with something that is just making them question, what could this possibly, God possibly want for me?
Mhm.
And so that first book, I was dealing with the loss of my vision. So I am considered legally blind. I have a less than now 10% of my peripheral vision, which means I have this little tiny toilet paper tube of vision that I see. Thankfully, with that little percent that I have, it's 20/20 with glasses. So I do see my screen. I just have to have everything pretty big.
Mhm.
Um, and I had been dealing with this for years. I was diagnosed in 2001, and it took me years to walk through this.
Wow.
And so when I wrote that first book, authors will tell you, write what you know. I
Mhm.
wrote what I know, and that was new, and that was loss.
Yeah.
And I realized this transfers into any situation. I have friends who have lost children. I have friends who have lost parents, spouses, whether death or divorce, or apathy.
Mhm.
I have these friends who have gone through tremendous loss. And in order to see God in it, sometimes we have to walk through it
Yeah.
really deep. And
Mhm.
sometimes it means absolutely prostrate and just in misery. And so I didn't write my story about my vision loss, but there is a specific loss that happens in that first book. And through that book, Grammy shows Rachel how to rely on, listen to, and stay at the feet of Jesus until she gets an answer.
Mhm.
And that is something I recognize that my friends will say, well, I prayed about it and God didn't answer me. Like, did you listen? Did
Right.
you sit and listen? And I
Mhm.
think that my mother taught me this, and I think it is something that needs to be voiced. And so that is in that story.
Mhm.
And when I had finished writing the book, I did not have a title, I did not have a series name, any of it. Um, it dawned on me that what Rachel really needs is to figure out what God's best is her, what is for her, not what she thinks is best, not what other people think of is best, but what God thinks is best. And then by the time I'd finished that book one and I realized book two was going to happen, I knew it was the exact same thing. Pete and Singing Bird, they needed to figure it out. They had
Yeah.
their own way and they had to figure it out. And that theme has just carried through every book. And so when I am writing, I am working through something on my own as well. I
Mhm.
am learning. This is a journey for me. I
Mhm.
am not, oh my goodness, I do not know what I'm doing. I am not all knowing. I do not know the answer until I have taken a character and taken myself out of the situation and walked that character through the depths of despair. And
Mhm.
then I recognize, huh, now I see how God can work, but he
Mhm.
couldn't have done it, or he would not have, the person would not have allowed him to do it if they had not gotten to the place where they needed to be to actually wait and hear on the Lord.
Right. How awesome though that you're learning
Mm,
and probably I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I assume drawing closer to the Lord as you are fleshing out these stories, and it's
Absolutely.
helping you first, and then it's helping, the readers that pick it up later. That's amazing.
Absolutely. It's exactly correct.
And I will agree, there are several things I can look back, through our marriage, for example, now and be like, man, it was tough
Oh,
during that span of time for whatever
oh,
it is
yeah.
we went through. But you can kinda not always, sometimes we just don't know,
Mhm.
but sometimes God does allow us to know the reason why,
Yeah.
and it's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it, whether
Right.
it's because you needed to help somebody else down the road, or you had to grow closer to God because you were
Yeah.
maybe slipping away a little bit, or,
Yes.
there's so many different reasons,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that, and
Well
we
said.
we are good at thinking we know what's best for us. And quite often, if God doesn't say yes, we equate that to he's not answering our prayers, and that is
Right.
dead wrong. Answering prayers sometimes means no,
Yes.
or
Re
wait.
yes, that silence is important.
Yeah, and it's because he knows what's happening down the road. We don't, thank
R
goodness.
right.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I could talk about stuff like that all day.
Mm.
So, on your website, you have discussion guides for the books in this series. Can you just tell listeners a little bit about those?
Yes. So, discussion guides are exactly what that word says. They are guides. Um, my books are well suited for book clubs in that you can pull out many different threads of angles of places and that you can go in the depths of these books. Um, if, for example, Healing of My Heart, 1875, 76, that time frame.
Mhm,
My one of the characters is she loves to cook. So if your book club likes to enjoy having a meal with their book club, then there's some questions about the foods of the time.
mm,
And also there's a difficult situation that happens in that book with some pretty severe trauma, and so another totally different direction that a book club could go to. So those discussion guides are questions that I have created that will simply help guide the discussion, but honestly, I think book clubs do a pretty fantastic job of having getting the feel of the group
mhm,
and the beat of what the people found important and going from there.
yeah,
The beauty of a book club and the internet is that even if I am not close by and I can't get to the book club, I am always happy to meet book club people online, and I would do that around the world. We'd have different time changes, but I could
yeah.
stay up till the middle of the night. It's all good.
It is amazing how, like, for example, in my town, I'll just say there's not a lot of readers that read the same thing that I do, and I'll leave it at
Yes.
that.
Yes.
However, I can still be in book clubs online. It's
Yes.
definitely not the same as in person, and I, do wish there was an in-person one, but I'm very thankful for the internet and that you can
Yeah.
still read a book with friends and
Yep.
you can meet on Zoom, and when the author joins you like you offered, it just brings it to another level. So
Yes.
I love that you offer that for book clubs.
Absolutely. And those are all on my website, and there's a connect form. And I don't have every book does not have a discussion guide, but I am working on those.
Nice. Can you tell us what's coming next in the series? Or just next in general?
Well, I'll tell you first, next in series, it's the last book in the Discerning God's Best series. There's a couple reasons for that. It is going to be Seraphina's story.
Mhm,
And when you finish Keeper of My Heart, you will find what this story is going to be about and who it's going to be about. So I'm going
mhm,
to leave that for now. But it will also have cameos of some of the most favorite characters in the book,
Mm,
in the series. And I not only did I have fun writing this book, it's already written, it's actually already at the developmental editor. It will not come out until either late 2026 or maybe early 27. Um, but I wrote that book so fast because I knew these characters, I
yeah.
knew this land, I knew the direction that this story needed to take,
Hmm.
and it is a very personal story. I was able to draw on my own experience for feelings, smells, sights, taste, touch. I was able to really draw on that to make this book come together. So it went very quickly. So that is the Discerning God's Best series. There will be more, I promise.
Yay.
My readers are too faithful to me. There will be more, but in the meantime, I am working on um, a contemporary romance,
Mm,
3-book series, same style, different characters each book, but all within that same time frame and area.
mhm.
Um, one of them is I just lost the name of it, an older love story, so
All
they're in
right.
their 60s and 70s.
Nice.
So yes, so it's going to be a fun one. One is a wounded warrior story, and the other is just a scuba adventure story. So I told you my husband loves scuba, so we are pulling that all together.
Nice.
That I am looking to traditionally publish, so it will be a ways down the line
Hmm.
if that happens. But uh, after I get that series kind of set and ready to go and sent off, that's when I'll start another series with Discerning God's Best characters. I'll probably either do the same area or a couple side characters, but it'll probably be back in that 1850s time frame, which I really enjoyed that beginning time frame where things were honestly really rugged.
Yeah.
Was not easy. You get into the 1877s and we're it's a little easier to get around and
Mhm. We call it simpler times, but it really wasn't.
no, it was not. Right.
So let's end with a few fun questions if you're ready.
All right.
What is your favorite romance trope?
My favorite romance trope would have to be close proximity. And I say that because usually the characters are not even remotely well suited for each other.
Hmm. Yeah.
And they have to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's just, they have to figure it out. And my heart says, I can do that with anybody,
Mm.
not just romantically. A
Hmm.
friend. When I meet someone at a conference and they sit next to me and they are the opposite of me, they are abrasive, negative, um, loud. I'm loud, but okay. So anyway, we have that in common. I can figure out just by we are sitting together, we will figure this out. I will
Hmm.
find common ground. And so I think that there's a little bit of my heart in a close proximity story.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I like it because, like you said, they just have to figure it out,
Yes.
and it ends up typically that something beautiful comes out of it.
Yes. Yes.
So, and it reminds me of God puts us in situations where we're, I don't want to say opposites, but I think you know what I mean by that. And we have to figure it out, and then
Yes, we do.
something beautiful comes from that.
Yes.
Do you have a hobby other than reading? I hope reading is your hobby.
Audiobooks are now my one of my hobbies. Yes. I will listen to anything by Aimee Lilly. I love um, Michelle Shockley books, Laura France, Michelle Greep. Just any of those stories just
Mhm.
absolutely captivate me. My grandchildren, I'm gonna have to say, are my greatest joy right now, and
Mm,
it used to be scrapbooking, and
mhm.
that's just gotten to be a little too hard, both visually and time constraint wise. It takes me
Yeah.
quite a while to do that, and so I have not done it in over a year at this point. But spending time with my grandchildren is by far one of the most enjoyable unique experiences because it's different every single time, and
Oh,
it
I bet.
usually involves monster trucks, a fishing net, and lots of mud.
Mhm. Sounds
And
about right.
snacks. Gotta have
Yeah.
snacks.
So I am a new Grammy.
Yes,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. She's 2 months old, and unfortunately, she doesn't live nearby, but, I thank the Lord for modern technology because we can still see her every day, we just
Yes,
can't hold her. Um, but it's different, like, I've heard forever, "Oh, being a grandmother is different, like, you just don't understand," and I'm like, "Whatever, like, you should love your kids and your grandkids the same," but no, it's different. I get it now.
it is different. And so I was at the park the other day with my 3 littles, and the oldest one threw a Matchbox car up and hit the middle one in the head.
Oh,
Now,
no.
he immediately said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." So I knew it wasn't an intentional throw,
Mhm.
which sometimes it can be.
Yep.
But the middle child just wailed and hollered, and I
Oh,
just
yeah.
looked at him and I said, "Show me where it hurts." And he touched it, and I said, "Is there any blood?" "No." I said, "Then you are fine. Please stop
Mhm.
crying. I'm like a no sympathetic grandma when it comes to that kind of stuff. But when I hear that my grandchild has had a rough day at school or um, got their feelings hurt or something like that,
Mhm.
there is no comparison to the grief. I did not experience
Mm,
the depth of emotions with my girls that I experienced with my grandchildren.
mhm. Isn't that something? I
Hmm.
I can't tell you what it is, but
Yeah,
we joke with our daughter and, when we FaceTime, "We didn't call to talk to you. Where's that grandbaby?"
exactly.
Oh, but it is
Uh,
it is it is fun. I love it. What is the first book that you can distinctly remember either reading yourself or being read to as a child?
um, Alexander the Great.
Oh, that's a good one.
It was a story about an alligator who the river the river rose. I wasn't prepared for this question. The river rose and the alligator got sick and he went up to this mansion and he had tears in his eyes and the old lady took care of him. And I don't necessarily remember the whole story, but pictures were fabulous. And
Mhm,
I was a very late reader.
mhm.
And so for my mom to read that story to me as we were sitting in the rocking chair
Wow.
over and over again, she would read those stories to me. I loved that book. It absolutely fell apart.
Aw.
Yeah.
Did you, um, get it later on and read it to your girls?
I gave that to my oldest sister when she started teaching in Mena, Arkansas. She did not there was not a school library, and so she had to start her own library for her 3rd or 4th graders. I can't remember
Oh,
which grade
wow.
she taught, and I sent her all of my baby books, and
Aw.
so they are some other child is enjoying them.
Somebody's enjoying them, though,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I can't believe they didn't have a school library, though.
No. She was
That's
in
so
what
sad.
is now known as a Title I school, and it was rough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. What is one book, besides the Bible, because that's a given, that you think everybody should read?
Mm. All right. So this is kind of hard because everybody has a unique taste,
True.
but I think Michelle Shockley's Under the Tulip Tree
Mm,
would it goes it hits several genres.
Mm-hmm.
It is historical. It's romance. It's women's fiction. It's a touch of mystery. It's time slip. It is contemporary and historical because it's time slip. It is well done.
Mm.
It hits on a difficult topic of racism.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of those books that I think really crosses multiple genres and age groups. A young teen would enjoy it as much as an older adult. It is a Christian story, but it is not in your face.
Right.
It truly just weaves God throughout, and you see that in a very natural progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a great author.
She is. She is truly my favorite author.
Now, did your narrator narrate her books?
She did not. She
Oh,
did
bummer.
not. Actually, Amy Lilly narrated one for Laura France, and that's how I found her. I
Oh,
I
wow.
waited for Amy for 2 years. I I she was that busy, and so it was a journey.
Uh,
But Amy narrated all of the Boxcar Children. Do you remember reading those as a kid?
No kidding.
Yes,
Wow.
she narrated those stories.
That's cool.
Yeah, she's
I
really
I can't do audiobooks, but I'm glad that other people can do
oh, I
audiobooks.
can't live without them. If I get a bad one, I can't either, but
Mm, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
So, what is one fun fact that readers may not know about you that you feel comfortable sharing?
Let's see, something that readers may not know about me. Oh, I love to eat, and I will eat just about anything. And if I am at your home, I will eat whatever you fix. And most likely I will like it. If you like it, I probably will too. I have traveled the world, thankfully, through missions trips
Mm.
and personal friendships, and I have eaten some things that I don't care to eat twice, but a few of them I have, one of them being chicken feet. I did that twice, even
Oh.
though I knew the first time that was not my
Ah,
favorite.
yeah.
Um, because of my ESL students, I tasted many, many dishes. There is not too much I don't like. I don't
Mhm.
care for the texture of mushrooms, but I like the flavor.
Mhm.
Don't like eggplant, which is the same texture as
Yeah.
mushrooms, but I like the flavor.
Mhm.
Um, can't go wrong with food.
I'm with you there, which is good and bad.
Exactly.
So what's okay, follow-up question. What's the wildest thing you've ever eaten?
The chicken's feet were pretty unique.
Mhm.
I might have a picture I can send you on that one. I'll have to search. My face shows it all. Those talons
Oh.
hit first, and that's pretty rough. But when I was in China, so there's this southern salad, and it's you put cucumber, tomato, and cheese, I think. It's not caprese salad. What else do you put in that? Oh, onion, not cheese. Cucumber, tomato, and onion.
Oh, yeah, I had that
And you
growing up.
mix sugar and vinegar, and you let it and salt, and you kind of let it marinate. That's a
Yep.
real southern summer dish.
Mhm.
So I was in China, and I was at this party and at my friend's home, and everybody had brought something, and I thought, oh, I recognize that. And so I had tried everything. And I took a bite and it tasted exactly like I expected. The tomato was
Huh.
exact, and the onion, it was just a sweet onion. And then I bit into the cucumber. No, I think it was the opposite. I think the cucumber was good, and I bit into the onion, and I thought, that's that's the most unique texture I have ever had. I thought maybe it just sat too long, and I
Mm.
chewed and it crunched and it
Ew.
rolled, and I'm like, yeah, something's not right about this. And I ate it, and I did not make a face, I hope. And when everyone had left, I asked my friend, Rugen, what was that? And she said, it was raw octopus.
Ew! Oh!
I thought, yeah, that would explain the texture.
Oh,
I'm not going to die, but I don't think I'll do that one again.
oh, yeah, I
Um,
don't blame you
the
there.
most unique eating experience that I had, though, was Rugen and I went on a tour to the old country to see what are called roundhouses.
Mm,
And we took a bus, and I was the only white person on this bus. And we stopped halfway there at a restaurant, and this table was massive. It easily set probably 12 or 16 of us. And it had this really large lazy Susan in the middle, and it turned and everybody got a bowl of rice in their chopsticks, and then you, as this thing would turn, you would take part of what you were going to eat
mm,
and you would put it on your rice, and then you would eat it, and then the lazy Susan would go back around and you would take something else. So I knew there were multiple dishes, and so I knew I was just going to be hungry because the first thing that happened was there was a young girl, and I swear she had tuberculosis, and she was coughing over everything. And
mm,
so she would take her food with her chopsticks, put it in her mouth, and then she would use her chopsticks and reach to the communal bowl and pull more and
oh.
put it on her plate and eat it. So by the time everything had gone around one time, I stopped.
Yeah, I would too.
That was probably the most unique eating experience that I've had.
Huh, that's yeah, I liked it until you said, the double dipping, and then,
Yeah, that double dipping is, I gotta draw a line somewhere.
yeah. Well, before we wrap up today, is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is truly a joy and I appreciate it. And we were talking beforehand of how we met and neither of us can remember. And I think it's because
Nope.
it's just so organic.
Yeah,
We both have the same love of Jesus. We both have the same love of Christian fiction. And it has just worked well for us to be friends.
yeah.
Um, but I think one thing that I would like to share with your readers is there are so many new and upcoming authors, and they need a chance.
Mhm,
Amazon now offers you, and it's done it for a while, but it's changed a little bit now, that look inside feature
mhm.
where you can read the beginning of a book. I would I would encourage your listeners to give some new authors a try, and that's a good way to do it. If you're not a
Yeah,
Kindle Unlimited subscriber, where you can just read the book and download as many as your plan allows, then that is another good way to learn a new reader.
mhm.
And I also want to say something about being independently published versus traditionally published. If you have not noticed recently, there are a tremendous number of traditionally published authors. Misty Beller, um, Stephanie McGee, um, I just lost her name, Rawlings.
Oh, Naomi.
Thank you. These ladies are traditionally published, but they have also, as they have gotten their rights back from the author, from the publisher for their books, they are now starting to run in the indie publishing field.
Mhm.
In the beginning, it was, well, if you're not good enough to be traditional, then you must be indie. That's not how this works anymore.
Nope.
Publishing houses are struggling, the costs are rising,
Mm,
and authors need to make a dollar. We
yeah,
have to pay for our covers and our editors and the advertising. All those things cost us money, and we need to be able to, if not make a buck, we got to at least be able to break even in order to bring these
yeah.
stories to the readers. And so if you notice that a story is independently published, don't push it aside.
Agreed.
Give the author a chance.
Mhm. There is so many amazing indie authors out
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Some were traditional and then went indie, some have just always been indie.
Yes.
It is not what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
many. So thank you for saying that.
absolutely.
Where can readers find you online?
The easiest thing to do is just to search my name, Heidi Gray McGill, and all the places should pop up. I have my a website, and on that website, you will find my two free books, both in ebook and audiobook format that you can download. That is given as a courtesy when you sign up for my newsletter. There is also a statement of faith on there and a blog. If you are interested in devotional style blogs, I write one once a week, and I have really enjoyed doing that. It's a different outlet from writing a book
Mhm. Yeah.
or a newsletter. You can also find me on most of the platforms, the Facebook and the Instagram, but YouTube has become my newest platform where I am finding I am reaching a different group of individuals. So my husband said to me, "So you put your audiobooks up on Amazon and Spotify and Kobo and all the places. Why would you give them away for free on YouTube?" And Misty M. Bellar, she's been my mentor for years. She is the one that shared something very profound with me. It is not a competition, it's a brand new mission field.
Hmm.
Individuals who listen to audiobooks on YouTube are different from ones who listen to it on a paid platform.
Right.
And she was right. I cannot tell you the number of countries of individuals who have emailed me, who have sought me out from my website after listening to a book, who have commented on my YouTube underneath a video
Hmm.
that have said to me, "I'm from South Africa, um, Nigeria, India, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji,
Wow.
Scotland, Ireland, UK, uh, it just Canada just amazes me the
Hmm.
reach. And so YouTube is the place where I am finding a new mission field that is truly helping me share Jesus with those that I most likely will never have the opportunity to meet.
That's amazing.
But I will have.
Well, thank you, Heidi, for chatting with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And listeners, follow her online. She just told you where to find her audiobooks for free if you're
Yeah,
not able to get them through other channels. She has two free novellas on her website that you can get by signing up for a newsletter, which I highly encourage you to do.
thank you.
And make sure you're following her in all the other places too to boost that platform for her as well.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yes, thank you. And listeners, we'll be back next week with another amazing author. Keep reading, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.